end of April 2022 informal, very informal garden tour. I'm sorry this is really late in the month, but it's been pretty busy. So I'm just going to take you around to show you what's been going on. So nothing fancy, just to give you a snapshot of what it looks like in the garden. So here in Hawaii, we've been having pretty good weather. It's been raining on and off lightly. So the plants have really been enjoying it. This is actually the front part of my home, and you can see that I have all of my Amaryllis bulbs in terracotta pots. I found that that's the best way to grow them, because they do like to be pot bound, and also they don't like to be sitting in water. So I have them above the soil, and I use a really pretty good draining mix in. As you know, terracotta pots are very porous, so that just helps to ensure that they don't get really wet. And here's some more Amaryllis bulbs. So I've had these Amaryllis bulbs for about 2 years now, and they produce really good, nice, beautiful flowers. And what I'm gonna do is, when it's about September, October, I will cut off the leaves and put them in dormancy. I stick them in a box and wait a couple months, and then take them out and then repot it. And normally they will put out beautiful blooms. And every year the bulbs get bigger and bigger, and you know, as bigger bulbs make more showier flowers. So that's one of the benefits, if you do have Amaryllis, not to throw it out but to keep it. This is a canna, or not canna lily, but a calla lily, and I've had this for over 2 years, and it was in a pot too, and I just stuck it in here, and it's growing really nicely. This is a coleus that I got from a friend. Coleus, very easy to propagate. You just cut a piece off, stuck it in water, and it's doing really great here. This is my boxwood, going on its second year. And just moving along here, one thing I do want to show you, because people on the mainland might not know what this is, but this is my pua kinikini tree, and pua means flower in Hawaiian. I've had this tree for a few years, and this is the first time that it is producing flower buds, so that's really exciting. They also use this flower for making leis. So really nice looking tree. Okay, and we're gonna move along here. Some of my roses that I got last year. I also potted up, or repotted, my 2 blueberry bushes. And I know that blueberry bushes don't like to grow in hot weather, but I just thought I'd give it a try. In this area here, I painted the background a dark blue just to have a nice contrast. So in this urn, which is plastic, so it's easy to carry around, I have some plants that I grew from seed. So these are my lamb's ears. And this one I also grew from seed. Those are called bunny tail grass, and you can see why I got its name. So you know, in the supermarket when you buy, you know, holly little plants, conifers, well, normally people just throw them away after the season ends, but I put all of them in this urn, and it's these hollies actually produce flowers, and I think I'm gonna get holly berries. So that's kind of fun. In this pot, I have my heucherella or coral bell growing. And heucherellas, they do like to be more on the drier side, I believe. They don't like to be sitting in water. So I do have them in pretty well draining soil. Maybe it's too well draining, so I'm gonna add some more soil there. And this is my type of grass. I'm not too sure of the name, but a beautiful red colored grass variety. And more of my lamb's ear. These are 2 lavender plants that I grew from seed, and unfortunately I don't know the variety. I tried to grow many lavender from seed. These are the only 2 that really took off. One of the key things I learned about growing lavender is that it is helpful to put the seeds in the freezer for about a couple weeks. This is my sakura cherry tree that I got from my friend John. He had actually ordered it about 3 years ago from a lady in Wahiawa, which is a town on Oahu where they have a row of cherry blossom trees. And he ordered it, I believe, from one of the houses, and 3 years later he got it and gave it to me. So that was really nice. Okay, moving along here, I have a tomato plant and my sweet pea, which is not doing great, and I think it's just too hot for the sweet pea in Hawaii, zone 12. So I don't think I'm gonna be growing sweet peas again. This is a 9 bark and some forsythia, and they just came from the mainland, bare root, and I just thought I'd just grow them. Oh, this is neat. I didn't even notice. This is one of my shishito peppers. I didn't even know that was there. This group of plants are my carrots, and I just throw the seed on the ground and they grow pretty well. And I'll just, mostly my guinea pig eats them. Yeah, just having them growing in some really rich compost. This was pretty cool. My gomphrena from last year, I guess it dropped seeds, so I have some gomphrena popping up here and there. And I really like gomphrena. It's a good dried flower. Here's an anemone, and I didn't think it would flower because it wasn't doing well, but there it's growing, blooming flowers. And I think that anemones tend to like more cooler weather, so I think that's why it's growing well here, because on the side of my house it does get sunlight, but it tends to be more cooler. Here's an orange tree. Here I just threw some lettuce seeds, and this is the result here. And this is basil, and I just cut off a top of my other basil plant, stuck it in here. It produced roots, and so I got 3 more basil plants. That was pretty cool. This group of little seedlings are my Verbena bonariensis, and I was cleaning out my refrigerator and I saw that I had seeds from last year, and just on a whim I threw them on this soil and to see if they would grow, and sure enough they grew after spending 1 year in the refrigerator. That's pretty cool. I just love that plant. Okay. Here is my wildflower patch. I have some Indian blanket flowers, coreopsis, ageratum, and the butterfly pea bush is going really, really well. And I know some people make tea out of it, so maybe I'll try that later. But this butterfly pea bush grew from a seed, just one single seed, and it's just doing really well. Loving that spot. These are my pincushion flowers, and I still waiting for flowers. Not sure if they'll ever flower because I planted them the same time as my ageratum, but it's okay, the foliage is pretty. Here's a kumquat tree. This is my Meyer lemon tree. Again, in Hawaii, we're lucky because citrus grows pretty well here because we do have a lot of hot weather. Here is my hydrangea. And I was worried the first year I had it, but I've been just patient, and it's starting to flower this year and it's getting a little bigger. Yeah, I just love to see pictures of hydrangea. You know, when people on the mainland show their videos of this plant, but we'll see how it does here. In this pot here, I had some dahlia tubers that I had in smaller pots, and I decided to put it in this bigger container. And so this dahlia is doing really well, and I don't know the name of it, the variety. This one here is starting to produce a little stem. So I guess everybody grows in their own time. Here is my mahogany hibiscus bush that I also got from my friend John. And it couldn't be easier to propagate from cuttings, from seeds. And I know in the mainland, people grow it as an annual, flower growers, and they use the foliage for flower arranging, but it kind of looks like Japanese maple, and I think that's what the appeal is, as well as it being very easy to grow. Okay, moving along here. This is a big surprise for me. These are my snapdragons, and it's the first time ever growing snapdragons. So I couldn't be more happier. I read a pro tip that if you want, you should harvest the snapdragons when the first flower blooms. That way it can keep in the vase longer. And another plant, first time I grew these from seeds, are my strawflowers. And I just really love these flowers. They're just so pretty. And strawflowers make a really great dried flower, as well as, you know, in a fresh flower arrangement. Okay, so that's, and then moving on the back here, So the back of this house is pretty messy. In this this area I have a bunch of strawberry plants, and I have to cover it because of the birds that love to eat it. And these actually grew by itself. So I had a bitter melon plant growing here, and I guess some seeds fell, and so I've been having bitter melon here. So I'm really happy about that. And I love bitter melon. Bitter melon is really popular here in Hawaii, you know, among our Filipino population. And I love Filipino food, so that's why I grew bitter melon. And you can use the leaves in soups and all kinds of different things. So I love bitter melon. Here is my blood orange tree, and I have it growing in a pot. And the flowers have just the best smell. Here's some little baby oranges. So here's the backyard, and we're lucky because we do live by the gulch. So in the back it's just like a steep ravine down, and there's a stream, but so it's pretty peaceful back here. So this is a plant that I really have enjoyed, and this is my Verbena bonariensis. And this grew from just one little seed, and it's just a monster. And I've had to cut it back a couple times already, but the bees just love it. The hummingbird moth loves it, and it's just a very beautiful plant. This is another plant that I really enjoy. This is called Gara, and I had it last year, and I cut off the flowers, and it bloomed again this year. And here is my other hydrangea. So very hopeful about that. Another hydrangea. This is my agapanthus, and it's a very beautiful flower, and you can see there very beautiful leaves, very green, and some little babies are coming out on the sides. This is my lemony lace elderberry. This is a artichoke that I grew from seed, and I got a packet of seeds from the San Diego Seed Company, and it so it's been going on its second year. No artichokes yet, but I just love the foliage of this plant, so I don't care if it never has any artichoke. This is my canna lily, and canna lilies are a tropical plant, very easy to grow here in Hawaii. And let's see, that's this is called plum dandy from Proven Winners, and I don't know the scientific name for it, but it just grows really well here, as you can see. Here's another orange tree, Dusty Miller. Really love Dusty Miller, and I just think it's such a cool plant to have, just to add silver, you know, silver foliage in your garden. here is my other second Meyer lemon tree. And you can see there's a lot of lemons coming up. I keep all my trees pretty much like my height level, just because I don't want to have it growing too tall. Then it's harder to harvest the fruit. And so year after year, I've just been shaping it, and I finally got all my trees to pretty much the shape and the height that I want. But it came at a cost, you know, sacrificing, you know, years of fruit production. So here's another plant, the hollyhock. And I just love this plant. It's a cottage garden plant, and it's just the leaves are just beautiful, the flowers are beautiful, the pollinators love this plant. Easy, so easy to grow from seed. It's a biannual plant, so you won't get any flowers the first year, but you will get flowers the second year, and it's really worth the wait. I mean, just for the foliage alone is worth it. And you can see the bloom stalk is so probably 7 feet tall, 6-7 feet tall, and more blooms are coming. So another really wonderful plant. This is my climbing rose. And this, I don't know the name of, but the bees are always on this plant. And I just think it's so pretty. So sometimes I'll just sit here and look and listen to the bees. Yeah. So under this area, it's pretty shady. So I have my mint growing, and my caladium, and there's African violet. Here's my Supertunia Vista from Proven Winners, and the name escapes me for this plant, as well as that one. But they seem happy here. This is kind of funny. I had a bunch of Rebecca from last year just lying on the ground, and I didn't clean it up. And so now I have a lot of Rebecca plants that are growing pretty well there. Back there I have a, gee, the name escapes me. Okay, I have to think of that one. Here's another plant. The name escapes me as well, but it's been popping up all over the yard, and so I don't know, it's how it's propagating itself, seed or whatnot. Yeah, it just shows up here and there, kind of funny. And here's my Serenity frog. Here's my other froggy. So this is a water feature I placed, and I have some guppies and actually a female fighting fish in here. You know, you always see those fighting fish in those small containers, and it kind of bothers me. So I bought one. I've raised fighting fish my whole life, and so I always get like a fighting fish or something, and I put it in here, and it lives really well with the other fish. So I don't know, it's usually hiding. So I have, these are frog bits, and let's see, This is, I think, a miniature papyrus, and this is my water hyacinth. Now in Hawaii, we have a problem with water hyacinth. It's invasive, so I'm very careful on how I don't just throw it in the waterways or anything like that. Yeah. Okay, another angle here. Another Rebecca that ended up there. This is my chicken Nugget. So because of Nugget, my roses don't have any leaves because she loves to eat them. So these roses are protected because I put a gate around them. So that's why they're doing really well. But these roses are from David Austin, and they just have the best smell, and they're so beautiful. Blousy flowers. Really, really, really happy with my David Austin roses, and there's just so many more blooms coming up. But I think they're loving the hot weather here in Hawaii. It's kind of like their little vacation. Here is gladioli. Didn't get too many flower stalks, maybe 4. And they didn't do so great, and I'm not too sure, why. But the leaves, it took off, but it's just that the flower stalks, I think, struggled a bit. Not sure if it's the heat or whatnot. But again, I don't really mind. It was fun to grow them. There I have some boxwoods growing. Still very tiny. In this area here is another, like a water pond feature. And I have in here growing my lotus. And this is kind of this lotus are from cuttings basically from a plant that I have been getting cuttings from for many years. And I started growing the lotus from seeds. And I think the key with lotus is they just love really, really hot weather. And so but they grow so vigorously that every year or twice a year, sometimes I have to take out this whole thing, and then I have to just take one cutting from it, and the rest I give away to friends, or I throw it away, or compost it, because you can see the root. I mean, I wouldn't call this roots, but you can see that it just gets so thick. Yeah. And actually, Japanese people eat it, the lotus root, and they call it, I believe, hasu. So the lotus is edible, but they produce the most beautiful flowers. Yeah. So that's my lotus area. So here's more of my Dusty Miller. And I just planted, this is my lilikoi or yellow passion fruit. So I have 2 yellow passion fruits and 1 purple. And I've grown passion fruit before. They grow really well here in Hawaii because they like tropical weather. And I've made lilikoi butter, lilikoi juice with it. It's really nice to have around, and they have a really, really pretty flowers. Here's my lavender flowering, and I just love lavender. This is an area that I have all my seed propagation going on, and I have netting just to help protect it from nugget, but also to give it some support. So I have like just a variety of different seedlings in here. Feverfew. There's my bells of Ireland. And I planted, I had a bunch of seeds, but of course Nugget went to town and she was, you know, pecking away at everything, and so that's the only one that survived. And we have some Rebecca back there, and Feverfew. So I didn't, you know how they say to label? I didn't label, so I'm guessing that's Feverfew. I put Feverfew in here somewhere, so yeah. And that is my Dara back there. Those are some garlic cloves. I just stuck it in the ground, and just as an experiment to see what happens. And this is a sad sight, as you can see. So again, my chicken Nugget loves zinnia leaves. So I had a bunch of zinnia leaves and sunflowers, and this is all I have left of my sunflowers and zinnias. Yep. Yeah, you feel guilty? I don't think so. Luckily, Nugget doesn't like cosmos. So my cosmos' plants are intact and ready to bloom. Yeah, I still love you. Okay. So making our way here across the garden or yard, I have more strawberry plants, and strawberries really seem to like it over here. I have them growing in part shade, but they do get afternoon sun, and I have them growing in really rich compost soil, so they seem real happy. And these are some plants that I mail ordered from the mainland, and this is called hopseed bush, something we don't have here in Hawaii. And I just thought it was such a pretty plant because if the leaves are such a different color and shape. And this one is my green giant arborvitae, and I think it'll just look really majestic here, just to anchor this space because it's kind of wide open. One thing a lot of people here in Hawaii like to grow are orchids, and you know, I just like to stick my orchids in on trees and have them grow like they do in the wild. So moving along this way, this is a ulu or breadfruit tree, and the breadfruit tree was actually brought over by the native Hawaiians. Okay, more orchids that I have stuck there. Banana trees that never really produce bananas, but I use the leaves in cooking. And here is my attempt at cacao tree. And they produce flowers, but I've never gotten any pods. Here's a pond that my husband built when we first got the house, and just have a few rescue fish in here, but very calming place. And to take you along here, of course in Hawaii we grow anthuriums, a lot of ferns. And this is something that I'm really excited about. It's my first cluster of vanilla flowers. So I've had this cutting for many years, and I heard that you have to get the branch, let it hang down, and then it will flower. So I did that 2 years ago. No flowers, but lo and behold, this month I noticed that it was starting to produce buds. So I've got to go on the internet and find out how I'm going to pollinate my flowers, and we'll see, maybe I'll get vanilla pods. Here's my Japanese maple and more African violets, and they seem to really love this spot here. This is my hellebore, my one and only hellebore. And more of my vanilla vine. So very easy to grow vanilla vine from cuttings. You can see that they have roots they used to wrap around the trees. But yep, that's it for this tour. Again, very informal, just to show you what's going on here. And anyway, looking forward to what's gonna happen in May. All right, take care. Bye.